little piece of what I'm talking about. If you can see, and I mean with your first eye that they call your second eye, if you are able to see, you will know that the brainstem on the left looks like this lion on the right. And since we're in the year of understanding and clairvoyance, for the clairvoyant ones, symbols are representations of the unseen. So, for the religious ones, especially the Hebrew Israelites and people of that school of thought, and of course, the regular Christians, the typical Christians, that is familiar with the lion and the tribe of Judah and things of that nature, I want you to truly understand that these are representations of yourself. So please do not get lost in the symbols. Understand that these things are dealing with you. And that's not to point a finger at no man. That's not to say what a man knows or what a man does not know. Because like I say, this year in this era, it's the time where that no schoolmaster is needed. This is the time where that everyone inherently knows what to do. So now, with the brainstem, check it out. One of the main things I want you guys to observe is the optic chiasma, or optic chiasm. Okay? But I want you guys to take a look at all the names though. Okay? I want you guys to take a look at all the names, all the labels, if you haven't already. Because we will be comparing in a minute, just to give you guys an observation, because this is a university, right? So it's all about learning. And I want you guys to understand what you're looking at right now dictates and determines everything you do in your life. When it comes to the physical part of you, this physically controls you. Like I've said in other videos, this is your joystick. This is like the puppet master. This, your brainstem, which as you can see, has your midbrain, has your oculomotor. Yeah, everybody know motor is like something that runs, you see? So it's like the power source. It's the whole deal. Optic always have something to do with eyes, you feel me? So you got the optic nerve, the optic chiasma, the optic tract, right? And then you go down to the bottom and you see that's the spinal cord. So you see the spinal cord is attached to your midbrain. Just in case you're wondering how you move and stuff like that. Right? So I'm trying to give all my people this science, this medical work. You feel me? Stuff that they going to college for all these years and charging all this money, blocking the gates for us, for the lower class, making you think it's all about a dollar bill when they're using this right here that belongs to you in order to generate their money, because this is the only power there is. Like within your brain and stuff like that is where your thoughts are located, which is where your psyche is located, is where, what they call your mind. That's where the interaction goes on at between the electrical universe and the magnetic universe. That meets at this point and turns into electromagnetic energy, which forms an electromagnetic field around you. You are within this body. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? They have a tendency, and when I say they, I mean the educational system. They have a tendency to use different words that means the same thing. Now, if their intention is to confuse you or not, I don't know. But it's the fact that it can confuse you. That's the problem. So, whether that's the intention or not, my intention is to balance everything out and make it all level, to where you don't have to determine a branch between a tree limb. So if someone says, give me a tree limb, or someone says, give me a branch, a person that don't know that a tree limb is a branch, they're confused. You're like, hey man, you asked for a branch, I don't know what a branch is. Or you ask for a tree, you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? They give it even more layman's terms, right? Somebody say, man, that's bad right there. We know that means good, but somebody might be like, that's bad. And they're confused right there until they know the difference, until they know that's the same thing. That we both are saying good even though I'm saying bad, But it's just those subtle ways of thinking that can make the world of difference. All right. So let's go on to the next slide. A little bit more about the brainstem or whatever. Well, actually, this is the main thing right here that was gonna blow y'all away in my mind. Right? So like I said again, turn on that first eye that they call the second eye, that some people call the pineal gland, right? Which is really your massa intermedia. All right, what they call your pineal gland is not your pineal gland. It's a thing called the massa intermedia, is where you receive your insight. And if we do words again, that's the master in the middle. Okay? That's the white aspect on this Time magazine with this female on there. Now, I want to point out that if you haven't noticed already, the shape is exactly the same. And if you look at the brain stem and you check out the optic chiasm and the optic nerve, you can see that's like her arms. And the optic chiasm is like the white part in the middle, where everything meets at. Children, right? Meets in the middle when it comes to child reproduction. Man and a woman creates the child. And then if you look at her hair, it kind of like resembles a slit at the top of the brain stem. And if you look at the lion, it looks the exact same way. You can see the slight split at the top of the lion's head. And you can see the diaphragm or the outlining of the lion appears to look like the same shape of each image to the left. Right? And then one thing that really caught my attention that led me to use this picture as an educational source is that one shoe is off her foot. Can you see that? It's one shoe missing. Well, 1 foot missing, I should say. So what is this saying? It's saying exactly what I'm trying to explain to you right now. Let's go on to the next slide. Now, since we see that the lion resembles it so much, I decided to look up the symbolic meaning of lion, right? But before I read that, let me briefly describe these pictures. Now, at the top left, you have different images that's representing basically what all life has in common. And that's the electromagnetic field around it. And the 8 shape, like I was speaking of earlier. You know, where everything meets in the middle with this protective shield around us that they call the human biofield when it comes to humans, right? Electromagnetic field when it comes to the earth, right? Or electricity, the magnetic field when it comes to electricity or the inertia. Right? So basically, it's just the neutral point is what it is, where a thing is not this or that, right? Even though we came from our mother and our father, we come together and we not either our mom or our dad. We become both of them, right? We become androgynous. But the problem is that people take these type of understandings and then they think that means that, hey, I could change my sex and things like that, and I could be this and that, but which people do have the right to be able to be whatever they want. But what I'm saying is when people read these doctrines and these fables and things like that, they misinterpret the message and they seem to think that this means with the opposite sex. And no, that's not what it means. You are the opposite sexes. You know, when they look at the Baphomet, oh, that's evil, that's the devil. Yes, it's intended to be that way for the ones that's perceiving it that way and presenting it in that form. But overall, it's just showing you the sun and the moon within yourself. the different polarities of energy that we breathe in and breathe out, that we all partake and share, right? So now, the two pictures below that picture, well, and I want to say another thing. You see, it resembles the apple and all this type of stuff, even though I know for sure in the King James Bible, it does not say an apple. It says a fruit. Okay? But it looks like an apple, so that's where we get this apple deal from. But I'm trying to help you guys to understand that this is where this concept is coming from. The things that we see, to understand the things that we don't see. Okay? So now, the images below that picture, you see the one on the left, the far left, is called the Great Mother. Well, both of them is called the Great Mother. But they had different depictions depending on whatever culture you were in. Some of them was called the Great Mother, some of them was called the God, the God, all of them were considered goddesses. But all I'm trying to say is most cultures, ancient cultures, had a female deity that they worshiped as a god, which were considered fertility gods and things like that. God of love, fertility, protection, these types of things. And again, the image below, y'all see Miss Lady, and then the image next to her, that's a Taurus field. That's what's circulating our earth. That's like the pattern of life. Some people call it the flower of life, but it's basically the pattern of life. That's how everything forms, even us. When we go into our meiosis process, our reproduction process, we spiral and vibrate and we radiate into existence. You understand? And so, to the far right, to the far bottom right, that's another image of a goddess, of the goddess, that same Great Mother goddess. Okay? Now, to the symbolic meaning of lion, it says the lion is a very diverse symbol, kind of like the queen on the chessboard and go wherever, right? It says its most common traits are majesty, strength, courage, justice, and military might, etc. Commonly referred to as the king of the beast. King of the jungle, right? The king of the beast, though, is how they put it, right? It is a symbol of kingly power and might. But as the lioness, it is commonly related to the Great Mother and protection. You see that? That the lioness represents the Great Mother. So, maybe that's why it's no surprise that these images are similar, right? Especially with Miss Lady, because I believe she is representing the deity of the Great Mother, of this great awakening, of this great energy, of this great power that's entering into our universe. But I don't want people to get lost and start following and worshiping the Queen of Heaven, start worshiping the Great Mother, this great energy, right? As a god, because these symbols are not gods, okay? You have to internalize this power. That's what caused us to fall short from the beginning, because we lost the understanding of the Herus and the Atoms and all these other religions and the Krishnas and the Buddhas and the Jesuses. We lost the understanding that it was all about the energy that we inherit, right? The life force, the breath that we have, the thoughts, the things that we cannot see. We forgot that we control the things that we don't control, right? It's like you don't control your heartbeat. Your heart beats automatically. We don't have to be like heartbeat, right? You understand? We can't tell our mind to stop thinking. It's going to think by itself regardless. When we eat food, our body will automatically start digesting stuff or whatever the case is, right? So there's some things that just get done regardless, whether we know it or not. But it's a part of us. Our body is controlling it, right? So now, this is another video, but I should go ahead and lay it down because I already said I was going to mix in this and that. So it's the same thing with the sun and the moon, right? The day and the night. We don't know we're controlling it, but we're actually controlling it. Just like you don't make your heart beat, but your heart beat. So something something you're not aware of is actually causing this to happen. And that same thing is causing your heart to beat without you making it beat, or your vowels to move, your vowels or whatever the case, I don't want to use that example. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? The thing that you can't control, that automatically happens. Like the animals and all that. They just do their thing regardless. The grass just automatically grow and all that. It's the same thing that's controlling you. So once you tap into that source, that ultimate source, which is this energy that we're speaking of for this 2020 that's coming in, right? Just so we can bring it to a nucleus so y'all really understand what I'm saying, right? This merger of this energy, this power that's going to be really in full effect around March to around June or whatever. And it's going to be in effect for the next 2,000 years, you understand? But yeah, not to go too left on y'all, I'm trying to keep it to the topic. So let's get to the next slide right quick. So I just want to give y'all a different example of what this same image is when it comes to your brainstem. Like the one at the top right is like they animated picture, they animated 3D pictures, but it's like a good similarity of what it is. But you see the one on the left, that's like the real deal, like it's fresh out somebody's head or something, But the thing about it is, it gives you a better understanding. So you get looking at some of those ancient artifacts, ancient art, some of the ancient art, especially like in Egypt and all that, and you look from your first eye to eye that's inside your mind, that can communicate with the two eyes that's in front of your face, that your first eye look out of. This image right here looking out of, tell you the truth, you know what I mean? Excuse me. It's the brainstem right here that's looking out of the real eyes, because all your eyes and stuff like that, like I said, with the outer nerve and the outer transmitter that's crossing and all that, you know what I mean? I ain't said this earlier, but you know what I'm saying? That's what your eyeballs connected to. So it's coming from this though. This is the main thing that's really showing you what's going on. And then if you look at the bottom part, man, it looks so weird. It look like a person, bro. Like y'all see what I'm saying? That's like a whole, like what they would call an angel or something, right? You see the yellow part that look like wings, and man, look, it looked like the thing got a crown on top of his head. If I had to guess, right? If I had to say, man, look, man, for real though, look like he got pants with the shirt tucked in. It was another image, man. This is crazy. Look at that, like a whole person, bro. Which it is a whole person. Just to have y'all to understand, this is a whole person. You are that person. The real you is this small image right here inside of your brain. Listen, I don't want to spook y'all out, but y'all do need to understand excuse me, what I'm trying to explain to you. Listen, this image right here, the same image that you see on the Matrix, people like to use Matrix examples a lot. They like to use the Matrix examples. So listen, the little people that was inside the machine when they were shooting and all that in the war, that was an example to show you who you are inside of yourself. Our bodies are machines. We know science calls our bodies machines, but they never really explain who's controlling the machine. I'm explaining to you that the brain stem that's on the left is the same thing that's at the right bottom of this picture, where their animated picture appears to be more keen to the eye to what we can actually see what it can possibly look like with the full brain, right? And it appears to be a person in it. And it is a person. And it's attached to all types of strings, right? Which are your 12 cranial nerves, like reins for horses or whatever the case. It's strapped down, it's bound down in your brain, it's bounded, it's binded, right? This is the prisoner in your mind. This is the one that we have restrained. This is the one that we fail to build a relationship with. Some people may call it Jesus. Some people may call it Jesus or whatever. Some people call it God or whatever, the Father. You feel what I'm saying? They call it all these things, but it's kind of being misrepresented. But basically, it's more like if it was going to be anything, it would be like the demigods, like like the Jesuses and all those type of people and the Satans and whatever the case. It's all within this one image right here. You have the left and you have the right. Now, where the words and all that comes from itself, that comes from the ether. That just comes from nothingness. So that's what we don't know. But the idea is to know that that's the only thing that exists is the word. And the word controls this avatar of being right here. Because everything fractals out. Everything starts from something small and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's like we are the tall version, the micro version of this macro right here. But in actuality, the small is the micro. The macro, and we are the micro. Because in actuality, whether we realize it or not, this part of our brain is controlling all of our actions, But yeah, the main reason why I have this picture, though, is just to point out the fact that there are a lot of similar words to show you that this is literally inside your brain, just to give you a real concept of what it's actually looking like so you can relate to it. All right, so let me go to the next slide. So back to dealing with this female, right? But not her particularly, just for the education aspect of it, the deity that she's representing knowingly or unknowingly or whatever, I don't know. But I do know her name is Melissa according to what they say, right? And the word Melissa in Greek mythology means bee. Okay? And so, as you can see the picture at the top left, it says the bee goddess. And you can see the poses that she's doing looks just like it. You understand what I'm saying? And I call myself BT Enterprise, so I ain't tripping. Because I understand it's about the energy and all that, But I'm just trying to get you guys to understand how you could be following something and worshiping something that you don't even know, that you're unaware of, and it's all type of tricks and games being played on you, and you don't have no idea, and you wonder why people make it the way they make it, or they come up the way they come up, because everything is tied to the code. And once you get the code, you can tap into the code, and then you can create your own thing. Like, I've been calling myself BT before I even knew what the B meant and all that. You see what I'm saying? I just did it already. That's just my name. Those are my initials, and I just decided to call myself that and spell it that way. You understand? And there's so many other things that I've done Then when I go back and look at it, be like, whoa, this mean this. I ain't know that meant that. Oh, wow. Before I found that power that I'm telling you about, before you actually tap in, then when you actually tap in, you'll understand that everything you've been doing is for the purpose you've been doing it for. Let me get you my right, Rich, please. Yeah, man, I ain't want to stop just then, man. I was gonna talk about bro on the deal, but I ain't want to stop my live, man, because it's so heavy, it's so deep, right? So, I know I'm gonna lose my train of thought. That's why I said it so fast, but it's all good. I'm gonna stay on track right quick. I'm almost finished anyway, because I gotta call my bro back. That's my partner. It's all about, like I just said, it's all about showing love and building relationships, man. You know what I mean? You gotta be down with your people. You know what I'm saying? And he don't even really call me like that too much. So it gotta be something, but I ain't trying to get lost on that. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna keep focusing, because listen, that's another thing that brings out another point. And I'm not saying for him, I'm just saying for anybody to pay attention. That's the part of staying focused, right? I could have let my energy get deferred and be like, you know what? If I cut it off right here and go and holler at my bro or whatever, and just let that mess up my groove and what I'm doing. Or I could just stay focused and do what I'm doing already, and then I result that back to something else. And then I revert back to something else. I mean, once I handle my business, then I revert back to something else. Now everything cooking, everything popping, everything, all kind of stuff now, you see? And it's like, hey, what's going on, man? But you got to be aware of these things too. So it's not going to be all just glamorous like I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the thing in this life, like they might press against you, right? But you have to be able to observe it and curve it. It's going to be easier to curve it, because you remember in the past, it's like, man, things just keep coming and just keep getting harder and harder to curve and curve and curve. It's like, man, it's going to even ever stop. Like, come on now. I'm doing everything I need to be doing and supposed to be doing, and things still not turning to my favor for the most part. You see? That energy is leaving. So now it's coming to the energy where we're like, okay, I had to do this, do that. Now I'm curving it. You know what I mean? Boom. So now, let me go to the next slide right quick. So like I said, so I can get to some people. So, y'all see what the name is, right? And then y'all see what they say, professionally known. Because I don't want nobody to really think I'm trying to put nobody out there, so I ain't trying to talk too much. I'm letting, this thing they already got out on their own. You see what I'm saying? But I ain't trying to broadcast too much. Right? Y'all know how to read. Do you know how to read? Yeah, y'all know how to read. So y'all see what they say, right? And they say a variant of Lisa, right? And then y'all see what it said mean, right? At the bottom. You see what it say? Y'all see what it say? You see what these topics is? You see? Look at all the topics, different ones. What I'm gonna do is check them out. You'll see every ancient culture had a bee goddess. You feel me? It ain't nothing but bee goddess. It ain't nothing but worship with bees. All right. So now let me go down to I think this is the last one. Might be the last one. Let's see. So let's say Lisa means a female who is devoted to God. It is known as the female diminutive of Elizabeth, from the Hebrew Elisheba, meaning either oath of God or God is satisfaction, right? So that brings you back to the Bible and stuff like that. So now it makes you a person like me and a person like you guys that's fully aware. You would say, hey, what Elizabeth had to do with this? So, okay, since I know that this name means this, so how does this relate to the story? You see, so it's showing you that it's all about the energy. It's all about the feminine energy that was going on in the scriptures. It wasn't particularly about no specific people, but the problem is people took it as people. They took it, they looked at it to be as real people versus understanding that it's about energy. But when you read it for real and you thoroughly get the understanding, you will see that it's about energy and stuff like that. But you can't recognize what you don't know. You see, it could be saying that all day, but if you don't know to look or to see from that angle, you just ain't gonna see it. It's nothing personal. It don't mean you stupid or nothing like that. It just means you just not on that level of consciousness yet. Right? So now it says the name Lisa has been associated to come from the lily flower. All right? And they say lilies, this is spiritual meaning, are known to be the May birth flower and the 30th wedding anniversary flower as the flowers most often associated with funerals. Lilies symbolize that the soul of the departed has received restored innocence after death. It says, let me read that part again. For as the flowers most often associated with funerals, lilies symbolize that the soul of the departed has received restored innocence after death. Right? It says that the soul has received restored innocence after death. So now, when we look at this on the spiritual aspect, as it's intended to catch, right? You would know that this is a spiritual death we're speaking of. It says most often associated with funerals, right? Which it is. When you're speaking of death, people automatically think funerals. But that's the external way of thinking about it. That's the wrong way of understanding what's really going on. And it says lily symbolizes that the soul of the departed has received restored innocence, right? So it says, renew your mind and become a new creature. You know? It says, love God with your whole mind, soul, mind, spirit, and what it said, three things. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm saying. And if you don't, I guess you're going to be lost in the sauce, thinking that you're supposed to wait till you die, literally, in order to do these things, which you're supposed to not ever die literally, right? Because the soul lives forever. You understand? You understand? It said receive innocence. It sounds like born again almost. But peep game is all I'm trying to say. So let me see. So yeah, man. This is your boy, Wisdom Seekers University, once again, you know what I mean? Urban scholar, right? You dig? Y'all already heard me tell my brother I was going to have to hit him back, you know what I mean? That was the end of the slides anyway. And I'm going to come back and holler at y'all about some different topics. And, it's going to be spinning off a lot of other things that ain't necessary. And it's just to set the record straight, this ain't really got nothing to do with Miss Lady or girl at all, period, whatsoever. And y'all already know this, man. If you don't know, you do know. And y'all need to rewind this, right? Go check out the main deal. Let me show y'all the main deal about 2020 energy again, right? 2020 energy right here. That's what this is all about. It's about clear vision. Get your imagination right. You feel me? It's about deliverance. All right? Knowing that you got a way, you can see a way out. You know, it's a way you could be delivered. God gave all of us talents. Everybody have a talent. I don't care what it is. You got the gift for gab. If you got the gift for protection, you could be a security guard person or something. You know, you a rapper or whatever the case, or you're an athlete, or you're a mathematician, you're a mathematician, I know what that's called. What it called? A math, whatever. But y'all get my point, man. I don't care if it's cutting grass or whatever the case is. Everybody got a talent. And so it's up to you to use the talents that God gave you, man. Right? It's like the scriptures in the Bible. This person had this many talents. This person had this many talents. You know, that the person had left the people with. You remember he said he left them this amount of money and that amount of money? It was a king or something like that. And then they say the king came back and it was man that had 5. They ended up turning it to 10. Right? And y'all know the story, so on and so forth. But we just got to remember and understand what these words is all about. You remember how they said talents, right? So we know that mean like the talents, like your gifts. You know, I'm gonna take my talents to, you know, elsewhere. You know, like they say in the NBA and all that. I'm gonna take my talents to South Beach. You know, so you really gotta pay attention to what they saying because words are everything. Words dictate reality. You see, people not saying things just to be saying it. So it's like, hey, I got a talent. That means you got money. That's the equivalent to money. Talent means money. Your talents will take care of you if you cultivate them and nurture them. It's like having a farm and you got crops on the property, on your property, but you're too busy hanging out and doing stuff like that, you know, trying to find work versus just watering the farm that you got. You see what I'm saying? Watering the crops that you got, taking care of them, learning how to make it grow, cultivating your soul. That's like the path through life that we're going through. You see what I'm saying? You know, it's like understanding like this is the path. You gotta go, you gotta cultivate your land and then learn how to produce for yourself. And look, and what I just said, learn how to produce, right? When you're talking about fruits and all this type of stuff, you know, that's called produce. You see, like that's the fruit from the tree. You see what I'm saying? Like, you know, people say you gotta be produced, got a production, and then people call themselves producers in music. I'm the executive producer. You know, we not really understanding that's fruit. That's the, you know, all the words mean the same thing. You see what I'm saying? Even though it's being used in a different way, but we ain't really thinking about it like that when we use it, you know. We done dumbed ourselves down so much so we can't see the spells when they right in our face, you feel me? So everything got some knowledge to it. You just gotta pay attention to it, you know? And that's just like currency. Speaking about talents again, you know what I'm saying? Talents, that's energy, that's currency. You know, you generate energy to do work, you know what I mean? In order to do work, you're using energy. And energy, that's electricity, right? And electricity, you have electrical currents and all that. So we know the current is the currency. And then we know currency is money. You feel me? So the true currency is your ability. Okay? So you got to get some ability. You got to get some skill. If you don't have no ability, you don't have no skill. Like the Bible say, if a man don't work, neither shall he eat. So it's telling you got to have some skills, right? They say even Jesus was a carpenter, right? If he was a real person, but the character in the book says that Jesus was a carpenter, right? You feel me? Okay. So now, Let's go to number 3. That's balance. I think I pretty much probably didn't explain balance in that rant I just had, right? But balance, like I was just saying about the energy, is balancing everything, keeping everything folded. I know when bro hit his like, bro, trip, bro, crazy. I done forgot all about just then. I said I was finna holler at my bro right quick. I done got so lost in my imagination, in my mind. Got so lost in the truth. With we 10 toes down anyway. He ain't tripping. We 10 toes down. But I'm just trying to give you an example of how you can get lost in the truth. You see, for real, it's the truth, man. So when we think about balance, I want you to think about balance like this. Balance is like the zero, right? That's the zero. That's the child. That's the number 3. You understand? That's balance, right? Now, balance. When we think about balance, we think about zero, absolute zero. We think about the male, the mom, and the dad brings a point, which is the child, and the point represents a 0. So that's why I would say 3, 0, 2, right? That's what I'm saying there. Right. But check this. I want you to look at it like this. You have a negative 1 and you have a positive 1. When a negative 1 and a positive 1 comes together, what do you have? 0. Right? When negative and positive come together, you get 0 in mathematics. Okay. Now, let's go to number 4, which is focus. Focus is when you zero it in on something, the same thing as the point, but it's like an active focus. Balance is just something that where you just free yourself from this way or that way. You're not neither left or right. You're not focused on anything in particular. You're just focused. You just balance, right? But focus is when you're channeling your balance towards something, right? It's like you're leaning towards something, but you're balanced while you're going the whole time. You remain at 0 point, even though you're moving up the scale. Uh-oh. Who caught that? Who caught what I said? We are moving zeros, right? Because you will always be the neutral point in your life. You will always be the 0 in your life, right? You will always be the absolute 0, meaning you will always be the everything, not in a sense of absence of substance. No, I don't mean it that way. When we say no thing, right? Don't mean that it's nothing. It's no thing. Something that you can't put a name on, right? That's always that. Always that. But when we speak on focus, which is the 4, we square it in. And by the way, I didn't put these, I did put these in order in the way I wanted it to go, but I didn't correlate it with the meaning that the numbers is synchronized. I didn't do that part. See, and that's a perfect example of what I mean by once you tapped in, bruh, things just happen like this all the time. It just does, bruh. And this is just so cold-blooded, and I'm seeing this in real time. Real time, I'm noticing that the numbers actually correlates with the meaning of these listings that I put. Wow. See, 1 could be clear vision, 2 could be deliverance, right? 3 could also be, balance. Man, listen. 4, that's focus, right? So that's what we at with it. Focus. The tunnel vision, man. Tunnel vision. Focus. Gotta have that focus. I went over this a little bit already, but you can always paint the picture differently. You know what I mean? Sometimes it might go over your ears different than it did the first time. You know how people have selective hearing sometimes too. You know what I mean? And people can't never hear real truth too much or too long. And I'm not saying as if for me saying the real truth. If I'm saying it out of my mouth, it must be meant for me to be. It must be meant for me to say for somebody. You understand? When you tap in for real, you know everything you're doing is for a purpose, for whatever purpose that is, right? So now, back, focus, square it up, zero it in, right? Because we know a square is a zero as well, right? We know a square is 360 degrees as well as a circle. Okay, that's another video. So now 5, get to the doing part, right? That's the creator part. That's the creative aspect. That's the 5. That's 5, right? When it comes to math, ain't that something? PHI, 5, golden ratio, 5. Yeah. My name happened to be, one of my names is BT 500, right? Or Beatman 500. And I will be developing my channel. Yeah, I make beats and stuff like that too for the ones who don't know. Yeah. Got a few videos, I mean, not videos or whatever. Got some songs and all that. Call myself 500. Ain't that something? Like I said before, I knew about what numbers meant and all that. And so, yeah, that's another tip. Go into what numbers mean. I will be making videos and stuff about this kind of stuff, I think, about what numbers mean, what colors mean, what letters mean. You know what I mean? All those, they have specific meanings for the ones who don't know. Colors mean a specific thing, and it has a certain vibration, a specific vibration. Same thing with numbers. Numbers means specific things. They mean specific things, all right? So learn what they mean. So when you see certain numbers used, when you see certain colors, or when you had a tendency to wear certain colors, that may have everything to do with your vibe and your vibration. You see what I'm saying? Because you might want to be attracted to the wrong colors. You might wear red all the time or something like that, or it might be your favorite color or whatever the case, and it's keeping you in a lower vibration because that's a lower vibrating frequency. You understand what I'm saying? It keep you stuck in survival mode and trying to push, you know what I mean, anything related to red, you know what I'm saying? But as you know, when I say the colors, I'm saying like the colors of the light spectrum, the colors of the light spectrum. So look up the colors of the light spectrum, you feel me? And then look at the symbolic meaning of these colors or symbolic meaning of these numbers. And man, and just use discernment. Whatever you do, do not believe everything that you look up. Please do not believe everything that you read. You have to go inside and get your own understanding. Source out more than one thing. When you look up one thing, look at another thing, look at another thing, look at this thing. And then when you start to study different things, even things that's not even related, right? The other things that you did study will pop back up to confirm that what you did look up earlier is true. Because something totally unrelated, it have synchronized with something that is totally unrelated. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way. If I had to give advice to know what's the truth and what's not the truth, how to spit out the bones and eat the meat, you know, if you don't really know enough, don't confirm it as a truth. If you don't know enough, and when you know something, you know something through experience. You understand? Okay. So doing, that's creativity. That's God creator. All right, 6, that's building. You know what I mean? So it's when you bringing everything together. You know what I'm saying? It's when you bringing the up and the down together. As above, so below. You join it together. You join the matter with the flesh. You got control over the band. You know they say. Yeah, I ain't gonna go into all that. All right, but now 7. You know what I mean? That's knowing. That's like your 45-degree angle. You know what I mean? You know the measurements of everything. You know how things work. Knowing is different from believing. You know, it's like you start off believing and you get it. You come into knowing. You know, and so now when you get to 8, you got protection. You know, you got protection. You got to protect what you done built. gotta protect what you built because you know how hard it was for you to get. Because you know how hard it was to get what you got, so you gotta protect it with your life. Yeah. And then when you know everything is protected and that you can sleep sound, you know what I'm saying, that you did what you had to do, and that the generations after you and the generation with you, you're gonna be able to eat of what you did. You can rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? You can sleep in peace, man. To have that true joy, which is the top notch. That's what you're trying to get, that joy. Right? Which the number 9 represents the spiral. The feminine spiral, right? Peace. So say a happy wife is a happy life, huh? That sounds like peace and joy to me. It correlates again. Then protection is that number 8, the infinity where everything just cycle and keep going and going and going. You just know you're always gonna be protected, Like I already told you, I gave the number 7, like the 45-degree angle, that's measurements and all that. That's when you become the architect, that's when you become the scientist, It ain't nothing but a science. You got the 6, that's the masculine number, that's the masculine spiral. They're putting everything together, you feel me? And like I said, the number 4, that's squaring everything up. Number 3, just like, hey, as above, so below. Everything squared up, man. Number 2, deliverance, man. You got clear vision. All right, man. But let me go ahead and get out of here, though. While I still on good time, and I know y'all probably learned a lot. And I'm hit y'all with another video in a minute. Peace. I get at you. Wisdom Seekers University.